Do you think toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness in the United States?
Most definitely. Most definitely. As a masculine man, I feel like there's a lot of pressure that it is put on to you to be the masculine one in the room, and sometimes it affects you mentally when you're always thinking that you must be the strongest, and sometimes it's not okay for you to be, weak or vulnerable to certain situations.
Thank you so much for letting us. Next up, we have Mr. Washington. Hello, Washington. What made you decide to wear a burgundy bow tie?
Just wanted to change it up, everyone's got the black and the blue, so why not stand out a little bit?
Love that. Are you ready for your question? Do you think toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness in the United States?
It's a tough one. Yeah, I would say it does, because I think it's really misunderstood at the same time. You could be toxic, but at the end of the day, deep down, you're probably one of the most insecure people, or have a lot that you're on your shoulders. And I think with that, showing men how to show their emotions and be vulnerable can fix a lot of this toxic, masculinity that we got going on. So I think the root of the problem is a lot of these men are just scared to open up and show who they truly are.
Well, thank you so much, Washington. Next up, we have Mr. Colorado. Hello, Colorado. I see you have plenty of fans in the audience, so do you want to give a shout out?
I do. I want to give a shout out to my medical school roommates, my family who's come all the way out from Virginia. Thank you so much for being here. My Air Force friends who are here from California, they are proudly serving in our Air Force. So thank you so much for being here for me.
Thank you, Colorado. Are you ready for your question? Okay. Do you think toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness in the United States?
I think that toxic masculinity is absolutely creating this barrier for men to be able to speak out about how they're truly feeling. We are creating this culture where men don't feel comfortable to be able to share their true emotions, to be able to share how they're truly feeling. I'm serving in the Air Force as a second lieutenant, and I have personally experienced where we are not able to truly show oftentimes how we feel. We are not able to truly give our true emotion out at all times. And so I think the loneliness is creating this kind of culture and this kind of isolation for men. Hopefully we can change that. Hopefully we can make it a more commonplace thing for men to do.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Mr. Arizona. Hello, Arizona. So I see you have the pearly whites. Crest or Colgate?
Honestly, just floss your teeth and Crest white strips.
All right, put those in your purse. Are you ready for your question?
I love the question.
Okay, do you think toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness in the United States?
It's a great question. First off, thank you, Supranational, for giving me the opportunity to represent my home state of Arizona. I'm forever grateful. And when it comes to toxic masculinity, at the end of the day, I'm a mama's boy. And so I've always seen both sides of men and women, and growing up being with the manly man, being with their version of what masculinity is, I think in the end really hasn't led to the best mental health. When it comes to men's mental health, I think for the longest time we've allowed ourselves to not hold one another accountable, not allow one another to be emotional. I'm a very emotional person. And I try not to, break down in front of my brothers, but at the end of the day, if we want to change the culture for men and end toxic masculinity, we got to be able to cry, and we got to be able to express our emotions. And a great way to learn is from women. Women have excellent emotional intelligence. Women are the backbone of this country, and I'm a woman lover. So, men don't.
Thank you so much, everyone. Well, thank you, Jen. Next up, we have New Mexico. Hello, New Mexico. I see you're sporting a bow tie. So bow ties or regular ties?
Both.
Both. We love it. Okay, here's your question. Do you think toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness in the United States?
Our toxic masculinity, it's affecting us here in the United States for many reasons. Because we have a lot of prejudice and stigmas. And I'm sorry, my English is not good. It's my third language, but we live with a lot of prejudice and stigmas. And the most important is to show our feelings. Men doesn't have the possibility to show feelings here. You cannot cry, you cannot show your feelings because people see you less. It's time to embrace our diversity, embrace our men too, because we have feelings. We can cry, we can be vulnerable. And the most important is respect others. Because if you respect and you give love, you have everything. The base of everything is love. So it's better that men and also women delay this toxic femininity or masculinity and live your dreams, not your fears. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, hello, Florida. So who has better sun, California or Florida?
Florida, I'd say, mainly because we got white sand. Here, I will say our sand's pretty dirty, and you can really enjoy yourself in Florida.
I mean, I am Miss California USA, but I'll take that. It's okay. It's okay. Are you ready for your question?
Whatever.
Do you think toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness in the United States?
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely in the state of Florida, I've known a lot of people that are so used to like kind of a gender bias and how things are normally built. I think it's more of like, oh, I have to pay, she can't be working, I have to do it. Like looking forward, like taking more commonality of not spreading your emotions in that way or talking with your significant others or your friends. I think creates this definitely creates this imbalance in terms of who you are as a man. I think there's a current newer generation, especially in the entertainment industry, where we will talk about our emotions. But I do think toxic masculinity has become this overriding problem overall. And I think, especially in Florida, I definitely have noticed that people are very unwilling to talk about these things or saying things are labeled in a very gay way, which I think in itself also causes another issue. But I do think toxic masculinity itself has become a bigger issue. I definitely don't think it's one of the biggest issues, but I do think in terms of healing a nation as a whole, I think that's one of the things we really have to kind of get rid of overall.
Well, thank you, Florida. Hello, Vermont.
How are you?
Vermont, I know you used to play for the NFL, so what team are we repping?
Indianapolis Colts, baby.
I say Raider Nation, but let's just move on to your question, okay? Do you think toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness in the United States?
That's a fantastic question. I absolutely believe that toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness. I think a lot of people have put up a wall. I feel like, when you look around society today, it's so much men versus women. We're not working together, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of insecure men who might lack purpose in life. And I know the pandemic was very hard for a lot of people, and a lot of people had to search within. But in the society we create today, men rarely look within themselves. So now, after we're at post-pandemic, a lot of people don't know how to navigate the socio situation that we live in currently. And now we have a lot of men who I think are just scared to open up, scared to be vulnerable. And what that creates is a wall. People can't get in, people can't understand you, people can't feel you. The modern man needs to be vulnerable, he needs to be emotional, he needs to be open, he needs to be a listener. That way you can listen to the voices of the people around you, because that's only going to make you a better man. And it's only going to make people gravitate towards you as not only a leader, but somebody who can lead their community and lift everybody else up around them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Or the hook too.
I'm gonna have to hit it with a 3.
Oh, a 3! Get him right there with the uppercut. We love that. Okay, are you ready for your question? Do you think toxic masculinity is creating an epidemic of loneliness in the United States?
That is a very good question. I'm really big on toxic masculinity. I believe that it is our job as men to go towards the forefront of bringing that to the forefront and making sure that we understand and address that. It's okay to tap into your most feminine energy. Okay, I want to make sure that you guys understand the importance of demonstrating a balance between masculine and feminine energy. That is my take on it.